What's up YouTube, this is Preston. I have an interesting video to show you today. It's going to be kind of a hybrid video. I will show you the new puzzle mods I have that I've created. But before that, I want to talk to you a little bit about 3D printing. I picked up my first 3D printer, Creality Ender 3 Pro, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I used a 3D printer at school before, but this is my first one, and I'm a total noob. And if I can do it, you can do it. They're so accessible and affordable too. I got mine for $250. And it's like my new favorite thing. So the first thing I want to show you is the first twisty puzzle that I 3D printed. And right here is a 1x2x3. I had these stickers laying around from previous puzzles, and I hand cut these ones. I'm so glad I could use a service like Chewy's Custom Stickers to get stickers, and I'll show you on my mods that those are all from him. So, a sliding 1x2x3, yeah, it slides. It's amazing. Like a normal 1x2x3, it has all the same movements. And it also slides, which is really cool. You can kind of see the mechanism here. I'll take it apart to show you. It's not held together by any screws, but just a little tooth that allows it to slide and rotate. It's a little fragile, and everything needs to be aligned properly. One of these caps comes off, and I can show you the inside of it. Yeah, so this cap comes off, which allows it to slide like this. And so that's the little tooth I was talking about, and I super glued that in there. I had quite the time deciding what orientation to print these. I ended up printing them on the bed like this, and was able to just pop out the support. I don't know how necessary the supports were on this puzzle, but I tried printing it in some different orientations. And of course the cores, I just printed like that, flat. And it came out really good. And so, a puzzle I'm working on right now is it's got a pentagon, so it'll be like a more traditional version of this, with the edge pieces being exposed all the way down the puzzle, and of course it won't be rounded. These will be edges, which will have a sharp edge and two stickers. So here's the core. I've sanded some of these parts a little bit. Here's one of the centerpieces. There's two of these, one for the top and the bottom. And they have caps that'll go on them. And here's an edge piece. I have several more pieces to print before I can put this together, and I'll show that in a separate video. Anyways, stick around. I hope you like it, and at the end of the video I will be showing you my 3D printer and talking about that a little bit. Alright, some of the coolest things I've found on Thingiverse to print. So here's a bearing, and this is really neat because it was printed in place in one piece. It came right off the printer bed just like this. I had to kind of pop it so that everything could spin. And what's really neat about this is this could only be printed in place. This is one of the benefits of layer by layer printing, and the person that designed this knows the limitations of 3D printers and what they're capable of. What's really interesting about this is that, I don't know if you could see it, but I'll just tell you, is the teeth inside of here are printed in like a V shape. and that's why they aren't going anywhere. And so that's just a really cool bearing or fidget spinner. This was designed by the same person who designed that bearing, and this was really cool. This was also printed in place, came off the printer just like this, and it's an iris box. And I'm just blown away by the printer's ability to print such small details with you know, just little tolerances that allow the mechanism inside here to work like this. After it was done printing, I just had to clip some little pieces of plastic, and I added a little bit of lube, and it works really well. So that's really cool. And these are also very popular prints. The coolest thing I printed, or one of my favorites, is this pyramid. This fractal looking pyramid. I had trouble with the bottom. See, as you can see if the camera focuses, there we go. The bottom's not perfect because it's such a detailed bottom. I printed this using something called the vase mode, and I used a trick to get this to stick to the bed. I rubbed the glass bed down with salt water and then let it dry, and when the water evaporated, it left a thin layer of crystallized salt which helped the plastic to bond to the bed. And sure enough, it came out great. Something like this takes 5 or 6 hours, but it's totally worth it. Here we have a Bandage ghost cube, and I did 3D print this cube stand for it that I really like. As you can see where the bandaging is. So what I did here is I bandaged a center to 2 adjacent edges, and it's a lot of fun. The ghost cube's really tricky. The last time I solved it, I had a couple pieces that were swapped, and I couldn't really tell, and it took me a little while. But anyways, I tried solving it like this, and kind of like almost like a pseudo 3x3x2, and I left this layer, let's see, wait, hold on, there we go. I left this layer up here as my last layer, and it did not work. So I had to solve the puzzle like this, and the reason is because this last center, if it needs to be oriented, the only way I could do the algorithms that I know is to solve it like this, having this bar down here. Jason from Chewy's Custom Stickers made this template for me, so I didn't have to scan and trace using SolidWorks and make the template myself. I really like the look of it, and this was using a cheap ghost cube. It was a Fancon, something like that, yeah. So it's really nice, came out really good. As you can see, and I'll show you, when doing shifting and shape changing puzzles, and when you're filling in with the epoxy sculpt, it's important to get it all the way. Alright, here's a Shengshao 5x5 that I added this big block to. It's a 2x2x5 big block right on the corner, and it's a lot of fun. I originally was playing with a puzzle that had a big block that was 3 by 3 by 5. So these pieces right here would have also been bandaged to it. And I figured I'd go ahead and turn this into a bandage mod because it's less work, less pieces I have to glue and fix together. And it adds a little extra difficulty because these center layers can move about, having to orient the edges right when you're grouping the pieces together to make sure they're oriented right. Because as you can see, like take for example this white and red edge group, I can't swap it. I can't change its orientation because I can't turn this layer right here. So if I wanted to change its orientation, I'd have to build it while the center was over here and then turn it. So anyways, this is a lot of fun. It's just a really easy 5 by 5 mod that I like. I have fun solving it because though I can solve it, I haven't come up with an efficient system to solve it. And I left the white, red, and blue Sheng Shao stickers. I changed that big one right there, of course. This is like a brimstone yellow. And yeah. So that puzzle's a lot of fun. Alright. I was working on this in the last video and I finished it. And this is called Alcatraz. It's not one of my favorite bandage mods, but it was great for this particular puzzle that I wanted to mod into something. Let me show you the orientation of this puzzle and how I hold it when I'm solving it. Ah yes, so there are only 5 pieces that aren't bandaged on this puzzle. And that's this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece. And this is the orientation that I hold the puzzle in. This is a 2 by 2 by 1 bandaged. So this is your top layer right here. And then I have these F2L pairs bandaged together. This center and this edge bandaged together. This center and this edge. This F2L pair. And in the back, right below the 2 by 2 by 1 is a 2 by 2 by 2 block. That's kind of like a fused cube. Just bam, just right there. So this puzzle is really tricky. I mean, it's even a challenge to scramble it. So let me just see if I can't mix it up just a little bit at least. Yeah, you quickly just can only move one layer at a time. And now if I do that, I'll be... Yeah, hold on. See, it's challenging to mix up. And this one's, it came out a little clunky because I'm often trying to scramble it and I just end up solving it. So you can tell what a pain it's going to be to solve because there's not a lot of room. So when things do get scrambled, it really is a mess. Yeah, let's do that. Ah, shoot. Ah, there we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Alright, so that's Alcatraz. Up next, this is a very fun and common bandage cube. This is the Hidetoshi or 3 bandage cube, and I went with lime green on this one. And this one's your standard Rubik's cube. I'm using a Shengshao mirror cube for this one, and right here we have a corner piece bandage to an edge piece, corner piece bandage to an edge piece, and a corner piece bandage to an edge piece. And this one's tricky. Some of these cubes are a lot of fun because it takes a setup move. So when I'm solving this, the first thing I do is I solve these 3 bandaged pieces in connection with the correct center. I know they're solved when these pieces are flush with the adjacent center pieces. And then I choose a piece to solve, which is either this piece here, or this piece here. And after I've done that, like for example, let's say I've solved this piece here, I'd hold the puzzle in this configuration, and I would do, let me see here if I can remember, R-I-D-I-R. Alright, that's the setup right there. So solve these layers up here, being sure to put everything except these pieces is pretty obvious that it's solved on these 2 layers. The center matches up with this piece right here, and the rest of these pieces are all flush with each other. And these pieces, you know they're right because when you give that a turn, they match up. And this corner piece right here will match with that. And so then after you've got it in this orientation, then you would just undo the setup move. And there's something really satisfying about solving these puzzles by shape. I really enjoy it, and I like the way they look with a solid color. And so that puzzle came out really good. Let me see if I can show you an example of yeah, you can hardly see where these 2 pieces were fused together, bandaged together. And that's the goal of this. These are really simple beginner mods. With the 3D printing, I hope to make some extensions, and then maybe someday far off into the future design my own puzzles. I'd love to be able to take a hacksaw and cut down parts of a puzzle and then build up extensions, but I'm not that good at geometry, and I'm better at following instructions, maybe making someone else's design rather than creating something unique. Fortunately, I found tutorials for these puzzles, otherwise they wouldn't have been as fun for me to build. Okay, so finally, and I have these puzzles on another puzzle stand that I 3D printed. Alright, this beauty right here in ice blue is called an unbandaged big block clock. It's a mouthful, and as the name suggests, it's a complicated puzzle. I really like it. I found this puzzle really fun. Alright, so let's first talk about the unbandaged big block part of the puzzle. As you can see, there is a big block right there. And the unbandaged part of the big block is here. It's this 2x2x1 part. Normally a big block is on a 3x3 Rubik's Cube is a 2x2x3, and that would consist of this entire part right here. But it's unbandaged, so this is free to move. And that's the first setup move of this puzzle, is to turn that face twice, because that is the only face that turns as of now. So once that's turned twice like that, let me find the orientation that I hold this puzzle in. Hold on, I'm getting a little confused. Ah, yes. Okay, so this is the orientation in which I solved the puzzle. And so that's the first setup move, is to turn that face twice. And then next we turn this face. Alright, now we can talk about the clock. These are the clock hands right here. It's a cool name for a puzzle. And this is the setup state. These F2L pairs are solved first, and then this layer is solved right here, and then you'll undo the setup move, and then it's solved. Easy as that. Except it's not very easy. It's kind of a tricky puzzle, and I like it. It's a lot of fun. Anyways, I hope you liked the video, and stick around, and I may eventually show off some cool 3D printed puzzles and maybe some other neat mods. Alright, this is my Creality Ender 3 Pro, and some things I've done to make the machine more quieter is added some foam pieces that came with the packaging underneath the feet. I also printed out this fan cover, which I've only attached with one screw. You can see the difference. That's without the cover. And then with the cover. The reason that I attached it with only one screw is it is an intake fan, and without the cover on, it seems to turn off on its own when it cools down. I haven't had it shut off yet with this on, so I'm worried that it might get too hot with this on all the time, so I have it there as an option for now. I wanted to install stepper dampers between the motors and the mount where they're attached, but because they're press fit pulleys, I could not remove the pulley to extend the shaft by this much. So I had some extra silicone jackets for the hot end, and I cut it on the corner so it would be flat, and I just used that to dampen the vibration, and I think it worked a little bit. I may just spend the $50 to get the silent board with the silent drivers. I have upgraded the bed to a glass bed. It was chemically treated, and I found out the hard way not to use isopropyl rubbing alcohol because it created a mark where it's rubbed down. So I think it still works just fine. The glass bed has been a real improvement. Leveling the bed is very important, and I've upgraded the springs underneath these knobs. After setting up my printer, one thing I needed to adjust was the tension on the belt on this X-axis. After tightening that by loosening these screws and just moving this piece out, my prints were much better. I 3D printed an extruder knob, and I upgraded this part of the extruder, which used to be all plastic, to a metal one. I've upgraded the tubing to the Capricorn tubing. I 3D printed a filament guide there, and another filament guide There. And yeah, that's it. Just a couple more upgrades I printed. This spatula holder and Allen key holder will attach to the side of the printer. I haven't installed that yet, but oh, that part just finished. This Z-axis motor mount, I 3D printed a different one, and all these files are on Thingiverse. I printed one with ovals, so this was the original, and I can't really get to the back of the printer to show you a good shot, but the new one has these ovals, which before tightening the screws I push the Z-axis down, and then the motor settles into position better, maybe just a millimeter more to relieve a lot of torque or tension on it. So that was helpful and recommended to me. And I've had a lot of fun with this 3D printer. If you're on the fence about getting a 3D printer, I would recommend this. I've never had a 3D printer, and it's been really accessible and fun for me to use, and the software is really easy to use.